Hi, everybody. I hope y'all are doing well. I hope y'all are having a great day today. If you're new here, I want to welcome you to School of Scarlett, the School of Unconditional Love. And if you're a new or returning subscriber, thank you so much for tuning back in today. I'm so happy to have you here with us today. So, today we're going to be talking about depression as the door to awakening. And while a depression may not be a symptom or something that everybody experiences, it is certainly something that a lot of people who have had spiritual awakenings experience and report. And sometimes it's something that's overlooked and just talked about maybe as dark night of the soul or just suffering in general. But it is a period of really going into a shift of depression prior to an awakening. And I've talked to many people, and many people have shared with me their experiences of awakening. And the majority, if not all, have all shared a level of depression or a deep level of suffering, some event that happened that threw them into a depression right before the awakening. So I will be talking about people who have reported this, and I will be sharing my story with you. So there is quite a few people that are spiritually awakened in the world that have reported these stories. And for one, there are people here today now walking this earth that report these stories. And for one, there is Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle was suffering, and he also was experiencing quite a bit of depression, a very low state of energy. And he reports that he was sitting on a bench at the park when he had this awakening. And he, I think, was crossing the street or something to that nature. But he was in this state of depression for quite a bit of time. And so he was just only really functioning to the level of being able to sit at a park bench or just observe life. And so he was at that level of depression right before the awakening. And then suddenly it just happened for him. So that's one example of someone who was awakened right prior to that had this level of depression. You also see someone like Byron Katie, who is someone who does spiritual work called The Work. And what she does is kind of clear away any illusions, any lies, to really bring forth the truth in a person, maybe sort of in a therapeutic type way. But she reports that she was also kind of in this depressive state. She was laying on the floor in her apartment. She describes a struggle of suffering and really being in this very low state where she wasn't able to really function like herself. A state of anger and depression is what she reported. And following that, in that moment, she had this spiritual awakening. So we see these themes happen with people that awaken to these insights. And even people that are not here on this earth any longer. We have Jiddu Krishnamurti, who also reported a lot of turmoil and depression in his childhood, which led to his spiritual awakening. And even we can look at things as a big and grand as Jesus and his story. In the Bible, it talks about the 40 days in the desert and his struggle there. And so that is a symbol for what I'm talking about, the suffering and the depression that happens prior to this release, this awakening, this rebirth that happens for a person. So, what you want to do is see what's happening in your life. And are you in this state of depression? It's okay to embrace it, it's okay to feel it. Because I talk to a lot of people that are in depression and may want to come out of it, right? And what's happening here is really all the accumulation of what I talk about, the programming, the conditioning that happens throughout life, accepting these labels that people have put on us, that we're not worthy, that we can't do it right, that something about us isn't right, that we're not accepted. All of these things become basically rocks in your backpack. Let's just think of that analogy that we've all thought about, someone that's carrying that backpack and it's empty at first when we start off in life as children. It's empty. We go to school. We don't need very many books, right? We just need maybe a folder, a take-home folder. But as the years go on, more and more is added to that backpack. You know, as you go up in school, you have more books, more work. In life, it's the same way. We start off life very light. We're a clean slate as a baby. And suddenly we take on everything that is our family and our family unit and all of the issues and things that come with that. And so we pack that in to who we are. And then we go to school and we meet others, friends, other people, just other people. And those other people play into what is added to our bag. They may label us, they may uplift us, who knows? But all of these things are going to be added. And all of these things that are heavy, that are really not who we are, is what we continue to carry. The compliments, the uplifting, all of those things don't carry in the bag. Those things um, are just love, and love is always happening. What we're carrying is these false illusions of who we think we are. They're not real. That's why they continue to stay, because we're holding on to something that's not real, whereas everything else is very fluid and flowy. So when we carry that backpack many years, eventually we get to a point that is very heavy and we can no longer take that backpack. That backpack can't take it anymore. And so the straps begin to fray. We begin to feel in our bodies, in our minds, that there is something wrong. And even an illness may pop up, pain may pop up. A lot of times when we aren't listening to our actual body, our intuition, and our mind, and the things that's happening, it can become a point where the body itself will just shut it down. You may have a health crisis. You may have a mental health crisis. You may have something that physically stops you. It may be an accident. Something will come in your way to let you know, hey, it's time to stop and release some of these things you've been carrying, because it is too much. You can't carry that and walk this life. So these moments happen to kind of be that catalyst in your life to release all of those things that are no longer real. And so when you're in this depression, a lot of what will happen is introspection. Working with a lot of very, very depressed people, one of the things that happens is that the energy is basically depleted, but there's a lot still happening within the mind. There is still thoughts. There is still, maybe the body isn't moving. Maybe the person is just laying there, but there is still thoughts, and there's introspection, and there's asking, there's questioning, there's pleading for help. All of these things are happening internally in the person, in their inner self. And so there is a lot going on in what we can't see. So while everyone, like myself, like the therapist or whoever, may just walk into a room and see just a person laying there, no energy, flat affect, what is really seen, what I see now, is there is actually a lot of things that are happening spiritually that we can't see. And what's happening spiritually is what's happening within. These questions, these asking, why did I get treated this way? Why did this happen? Why did I accept that? How did I end up here? All of these questions that basically drive the person crazy is happening. And so this unraveling begins to happen until there is just nothing. There is a surrender, that there is just nothing anymore to hang on to, that there is no will to protect that identity anymore. And it's seen that that identity is an identity that's no longer wanted. That identity was created out of falsities that happen throughout life, that we've accepted, that we've taken on, that we've thought we've had to be this character to be accepted in this world. But it's not true. It's not true. What you are, what you truly are, is very wanted, is very needed here. And so this awakening begins to happen where you reject that identity. And it's a very painful process of really being hurt, of really feeling pain, even physically. You may feel all your body hurts. You may feel parts of your body hurt. These are signals, these are warnings, these are symbols that a change is needed, that something is about to happen. And some people may be in this state for many years. Some people may be here in this state for a month, a couple weeks, maybe a few days. It changes. It varies on person. But there will be a time you will no longer want to hold on to this identity that you've built over the years, this identity that was really built to please the outside world. And so now you will turn inwards and something happens there where you're no longer pleasing the world. Now everything has turned inwards because that's all you can deal with. You have no energy to deal with the outside world anymore. So now all you can do is yourself. And that is a great place to be, believe it or not. Although you may get to a very low point that you may no longer want to be living this expression. And in that moment, a lot of things can change there as well. Now, this isn't to say that if you need help, don't go, not get help. Help is always necessary. You can do whatever intuitively feels right for you. But there is a lot of support as well in, let's say that you do end up in a psychiatric unit or with in some inpatient program, because I talked to a lot of spiritually awakened people who had ended up there. It's pretty common. There is a lot of people that are spiritually awakening that are in these situations that they are seen as crazy, so they're taken to these institutions, and they're inpatient or sometimes they're outpatient, and they go on this journey of confusion for a little bit because they're told there's something wrong. But actually, this process is very natural. This process is very needed. This process is just the unfolding of life and the returning to oneself, which is awakening. So this process, if carried out naturally, is just as good as going anywhere to get help. As you go get help, you will come across these people that are more open minded, and they'll help you through this journey. So if you are going through something like that, you can contact me. You can contact someone else that has been through this. There's many psychologists that work with this, transpersonal psychologists. So you can look for that and have that assistance in this where someone else can tell you, yes, I've been through that. Yes, it's that way. Because it can be very scary when, let's say, you're feeling all of this and all of a sudden your whole body begins to hurt, or you can't move, or, something happens where you're having headaches every day, you're having pain, you're having stomach problems, who knows? You're having random panic attacks. So these things will happen during this period right before the awakening. So for me, if you've known my story, you can go back and watch my twin flame story time. I wrote a book about it. It's my awakening story, and it's a twin flame journey. So it's a very kind of symbolic thing. But anyhow, in that journey, I was separated from my twin flame, and in that there was a lot of suffering in that. But the biggest and the worst level of suffering that I experienced was after finding out that he had passed away, and the way he had passed away. And so that was very hard for me to really have it in my mind that I would never see him in the physical again, that I would never experience anything further because I had released that, but I still had the hope of one day that it would be returned at the right time. So I had to release all those hopes and dreams of that. I had to let go of the idea that there is a person that I could ever see again. Death became real for me. But in that moment, I was awakened. I was in my worst level of depression. I will tell you that. I had been through many things in my life, but that was my worst level of depression. I was in my bed, and you can read my story where I describe it. I really had no will or desire for anything else in this life. And so in that moment, who I thought I was, my individual self, died. And that was it. My body didn't die physically, but this spiritual side of me, this kind of created side of me died. The constructed side of me died, and I guess you could say the spiritual side arose. So it was more of the conditioning, the programming that fell away, the sense of self, the sense of being someone that had to live a certain life fell away. So then starts emptiness. And emptiness is a feeling of there's nothing. And that is also a feeling of peace. And so you kind of abide in that for a moment until you awaken to the fact that you are something. You exist. You are alive. You are a living expression of God here on earth, and you are expressing something. You haven't been expressing it, you've been hiding it, and that realization will come up that who you truly are has never been seen on this earth. You've been hiding it. You've been hiding all aspects of yourself. You haven't been wanting to even be seen by the closest people. I can remember even remembering how I hadn't even been seen or wanting people to see who I really was. I was hiding myself in so many aspects and ways of life, kind of sitting on the sidelines. The feeling of when you enter a room and you don't want to sit in the front, you sit in the back, living life like that. Because why was I doing that? Why is there that feeling that life has been lived this way? It's because you haven't been yourself. So you're always in the back because who you are has never been front and center, has never been shown. So that awakening then evokes the awakening of everything. And then you wake up to, whoa, I exist and I can be myself or I can be anything. And so this freedom to now live life awakens. And the depression, the low energy of not really wanting to engage in life begins to release. And so there's this shift that now happens of awakening, of literally being awake to a vivid life where now you are able to be yourself, to live that life, or to live any life that you desire because you see the freedom that you now have and the basically silliness of this all, how it really is an illusion. And when you see that, everything that you were ever concerned about, protecting, shameful of, is no longer an issue because there's nothing here to protect. There's no self, there's no other, there is really nothing happening. So when you realize this, it becomes a play of life. And now life becomes freedom, becomes childlike. And that's when you enter the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is a mindset, it's a perspective of life. And heaven is here on earth now. You're just not seeing it. But when you awaken to the fact that there is no one that you have to please, there is no one outside of you that you have to do anything for. The only thing you have to do is whatever your heart desires. And isn't that freedom to be free and just follow your own heart's desire? And when you begin to follow your own heart's desire, you realize that you have a level of intelligence within you that you never realized was there. This level of intelligence is something out of this world. It's something that the brain could never do. This level of intelligence is a knowing of paths, of what is going to open up, and the perfect way to have things happen. And this is just happening for you. You don't have to do anything other than follow your heart's desire, and that intelligence unfolds in everything around you because everything around you is supporting you. Everything around you loves you. Everything around you is you. So as it opens and awakens and it does different things in your life, you'll begin to see shifts. You may not like the things that are happening. You may have people get mad at you, leave, not understand you. You may have situations where people are coming after you, where old things from the past are coming up. These things are your teachers. They are the intelligence that is unfolding the exact life that you want. Be at peace. Stay strong in who and what you truly are as you walk through this door. You're going to walk through a door. You're going to imagine this is the door, and here you are on this side of depression. You're in the depression. You can call it the dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it. You are in that 40 days in the desert of really fighting everything that's coming at you. all of those things from the past that you had not dealt with, all of those things in the past that were so painful, all of those experiences that happened that you didn't want to happen are going to pop up again to be relived and to be released. And as you do that, you're starting to go through that door. And as you push through that door and you go through that door to the other side, you're now on the other side. And that other side, you've now left depression and you have awakened to life. So your energy has now returned and you're alive. You're alive in this kingdom, this heaven. And so you want to make sure that you just go through everything that's coming up for you, all these things that are causing the depression. Sit with them, be with it, release it. See it as a gift. See it as something that's coming up to be released. See it as something that's just been placed here now for you to throw in the trash. It's been sitting somewhere in you, in that trash, in that backpack. Take it out, throw in the trash. You don't need it anymore. Everything that you've been holding on to there is no longer part of you. You are now not just this limited person. You have awakened to your true eternal being. And in that, there is no turning back. So every time you've moved through these things that pop up, these things that are keeping you in depression, whatever it happens to be, childhood issues, whatever it is, every time you move through that and release it, that is an eternal win. You are moving right here to your eternal self. So every time you release that, you're releasing things that are lies about you, that are not true. And when they're released, they're gone forever. They're gone forever, because once you meet your eternal self here, that's always been there. That's always been in your heart guiding you. Just haven't been listening to it. Once you meet there, there's no turning back. That's freedom. And so don't fear the depression that is happening in your life. If you're experiencing depression in your life, emptiness, feelings of not really engaging with life or wanting or knowing what you should be doing or what you want to do, that's okay. Be in that. Be in that. Explore that. As feelings arise, whatever they are, if they're tied to anything, allow them to come up, feel them, and release them. Do that over and over again. It may be very painful, but as you do, you'll feel lighter and you will go through that depression. So I see depression really as a catalyst to awakening. I see it as a doorway to awakening that is slowly opening. And it's basically signaling that the individual self that you so loved and thought that you were for so long, and that's who you protected and you thought that you were, you're starting to see the falsity of that illusion. And you're starting to see you no longer want to be that individual. You no longer want to carry those issues that you've taken on in life. You're ready to let it go. And so that depression starts because it's a painful process to let go. It's a painful process to move on. It's a painful process to die, because what essentially you're doing is it's dying. It's a death is happening. The death of your identity prior to the awakening. That person will be no more. That person will die. And they will not die physically here. They're going to die in a spiritual nature. They're going to be transformed into something new. And so when you move through that door and now you're living your eternal self, you're going to realize you no longer are that other self that you were when you were in that depression, or even prior to that depression. You're not going to recognize it. You'll recognize some personality, you'll recognize some preferences, but suddenly nothing is the same and everything has changed and you are no longer that self. But you knew that in that moment of depression when you were letting go. So go ahead, let go of that identity. That is not you. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Don't fear this. So many people fear that they're going to lose it all. No, you're going to gain it all. Release, release, release. And love, love, love. If you need help during this process, if you feel that you're going through this depression, these ascension symptoms, feeling things happening that are uncomfortable, and you'd like to have support in that, I offer one-on-one sessions to help you through these times. I also offer a course, the unconditional course, where we align to the heart and align to it where you're now living through your heart and you can go off and live that way. So if you're interested in that, you can just simply email me at schoolofscarlett@gmail.com and I can give you all the information that way. So there is nothing wrong if you're in depression. It doesn't feel very good, but this is part of the process. So don't fear it, allow it, and go through that door. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, share this content so that other people can hear about it. Thank you so much for watching.